Hi, I'm Cindy Abbott-Litro for Behind the Camera, and we are on location at Buffalo Filmworks. And today, as I drove in, I saw what looked like World War I uniforms flapping in the breeze off of Babcock Street here at Buffalo Filmworks. And Patrick Rizzotti is with us, and he is the head of Command Productions, is that correct?
Crossroad Productions.
Crossroad Productions,
yeah.
Okay. And you are somebody that, you've been making movies for a long, long time. And this movie in particular, I understand, is what you would categorize as a small movie, but it's about World War I. There's a bunker that's being built right behind us. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the film itself is a period movie based in World War I, where a group of American and British soldiers are in a trench, and they go to across a field to a German trench that's barricaded from the outside. So there's someone that's blocked this trench where whatever is inside can't come out.
Ooh.
So they, you know, as a movie would have it, immediately rip everything apart and go in. And once they get down there, they find a German soldier, and then they basically get locked in. And the rest of the movie is them trying to figure out, is there something down there with them?
Well, how does an LA producer find Buffalo Filmworks? I mean, how did you get here to make this film? I've got to think there are lots of other places that you could have
Yeah,
done
I've
this.
shot all over the country, and as luck may have it for me, my in-laws live in Buffalo. So I got to know Buffalo over the last 10 years and just have fallen in love with the city, and got to know the film commissioner, Tim Clark, who's just been phenomenal in welcoming productions into the city. So I've been trying on this one for well over 2 years, and COVID obviously threw a wrench in it for everybody. And but now we're here, we're super excited. The city's really behind us. Buffalo Filmworks, the stages here, have just really bent over backwards in trying to help us with our film, and we're very excited.
You know, you had mentioned Tim and the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission, and for a long time we have been working, and you know, Buffalo has been a location since the natural.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seems as if within the last 5 years that things have started to take off. From your perspective, what does a city need to do to keep an active film community going?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, for a lot of these small productions, or bigger productions for that matter, it's all about the tax credit. You know, as the revenues on films traditionally are shrinking generally, they're trying to figure out a way to offset costs. So New York having a 25% tax credit, and then shooting up in Buffalo, you get the additional 10% bump on labor. That's a very good incentive. So instinctively, you know, most people are shooting in areas like Georgia and Louisiana, but what they don't realize until they come to a place like Buffalo is how oversaturated those places are. And it's not as welcoming in the cities because there's just so much production going on there. And frankly, it's more expensive to shoot there because of the fact that they can charge more rates in hotels and lodging and stages and locations. So when you come to a place like Buffalo that doesn't have the amount of production yet, it's a completely different experience. It's like walking into a small town, even though it's a big city. And everybody is so accommodating and excited about films like ours being here versus some of these other cities.
How important is it to have a facility like this, like Buffalo Filmworks? Because how we've attracted things in the past, for instance, with the natural, was because we had the rock pile. Mm-hmm. You know, for Quiet Place 2 that came in, I think it was sort of the terrain that they got, which was in, you know, northern Orleans, Niagara County, that area, mm-hmm. That they saw. But how important are actual locations versus sound stages, or do they have to all go together?
I think, you know, it depends on the project, but using like A Quiet Place as an example, they shot a huge amount of that film here on these stages.
Okay.
So, you know, even though there was a lot of practical locations that they went to all around Buffalo, they found that it was more beneficial to them to build a lot of these sets. And they did it on this stage, on the stage next to us. And Buffalo Filmworks is building its third stage right now. That's going to be, I believe, the largest stage in the Western United States.
When you say build, what is it that you're actually, like, are you building a town? Are you, I mean, this is a bunker.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you need?
Yeah, in our film, because virtually the entire film takes place in either trenches and or a bunker, we could have gone out and just dug a trench and did it that way. But the ability to control your production and to shoot normal hours and not have to shoot nights, for example, it just makes so much more sense for us to come into a place like this. And fortunately, because the owners at Buffalo Filmworks are so film friendly, they worked out a deal with us for us to really allow us to do this. Because frankly, without them, we wouldn't have been able to shoot this movie the way we're shooting it.
Now, you qualify this as a small film.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
You know, this film's going to be under $2 million. So from the grand scheme of things, compared to studio films, it's very small. It would be considered a low budget film. But it's still someone's money, and it's a lot of money. So we're trying to do everything we can to cut corners wherever we can to still hit the creative while still trying to, shoot it for as an efficient price as possible, so that when the distributor goes and sells it and releases it, that we could try to get them their money back as fast as possible.
And the other thing that I think people don't understand is that there are different markets. I mean, will this be in movie theaters around the country? Will this be, at home, streaming? Where will this film, Bunker, end up?
Well, we're fortunate on this film where the financing company is also the distributor.
Okay.
So they have it's guaranteed that it's going to be in theaters. How many theaters is still kind of up in the air. Ideally, I think they would want to find a big, huge distributor partner domestically, like a big studio to come in and release it across the whole country. But most films generally, they have a financier attached, but they usually go to film festivals, whether it's Sundance or FM, and they sell the film to buyers that then are going to dictate the size of the release. Unless it's already, has a studio on board and the studio's financing it, like A Quiet Place,
right,
where they already had a guaranteed distribution, before they started shooting it.
As a result of this activity in film here, there's greater interest at colleges and universities to have more, projects and programs and things that focus on the making of films. For you, I imagine you studied film. Did you ever imagine you would end up, is this the place you wanted to be, producing films, being in charge, deciding, doing lots of different projects?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I've always, had a passion for film. I went to film school. I think a lot of younger people that are kind of looking to get into the film industry, like myself, when I first started, I didn't really know what my avenue was going to be, and I just gravitated towards the producing side. It was fun for me to be able to develop projects and attach the right elements and then try to get the financing for it, versus trying to just stay in one lane of like directing or writing or acting. But yeah, I mean, I think as far as the universities here, it is incredibly important as a community, as a film community, to really beef up the crew base in an area, because right now they're really starting to do a fantastic job of having not just kind of like one level of crew, but there's really like 3 different levels of crew. So in essence, you can have 3 films going at the same time here and still be able to crew up locally.
Well, one of the criticisms that's been made about offering incentives, tax incentives, people will say, well, only a few people benefit from it. But really, at least from our perspective at the Film Commission, is that it's a way to create jobs, and that they're good jobs. They're jobs that are creative, so that giving the incentives brings, that one hand shakes the other, and they actually are working together. Yeah,
I mean, there's another film here, Cabrini, that's a much bigger film from a budget standpoint. And even a film like that, they're trying to bring as many locals as possible. So on something like ours, it would be impossible to make our movie if we had to bring everybody in. So indirectly, we are hiring dozens of people, when you look at it that way, and spending, a huge chunk of the little amount of money we have in the community, whether it's staying in, renting cars, whether it's staying in hotels, hiring local crew. working with places like Buffalo Filmworks. So I think the tax incentive is a huge incentive for the cities, because virtually all the money that you're spending is going right back into, the community.
Well, the great thing. For those people that want to see Bunker, once it's all finished, do you have a projection on when it will all come together and the product will be available?
We're going to probably be finishing it up, I would say, sometime around September-ish. My guess is it would be the end of the first quarter, going into maybe the second quarter of 2022. But yeah.
So what a great way, when you see Bunker, you'll know that World War I was being fought on right here.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
Right here at Buffalo Filmworks. Thanks for talking to us today.
Okay.
And we'll see you next time on Behind the Camera.